Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tom and I make videos that help you awaken your soul and create an extraordinary life. Today we're talking about 6 signs that you are an empath. I know this video has been done quite a bit on YouTube, but there are new empaths every day becoming aware that this might be them. So I'm hoping that this video will help elucidate that for you, to make that clear that you may be an empath. And the value of this is basically you turn being an empath from something that can be a very challenging thing to actually something that has incredible power, that really allow you to raise up to your highest potential, to help others, to heal the world, to help everyone in the global spiritual awakening that's gradually happening. And you can really feel like you're in your truest, most empowered self. So that's the purpose of this video and why I'm sharing these 6 signs. So let's get into them. So the first sign you're an empath is you have a great capacity to feel. In fact, you live your life basically through feeling, emotion, intuition. This is actually one of the most powerful elements and really the hallmark definition of what it means to be an empath. So for example, you can be in a room and go up to a stranger, or maybe they come up to you, someone that you haven't really talked to much, maybe even met before. And as they move closer to you, you can start to detect effortlessly, not really deliberately, you're not trying to do this, but you can detect and feel into their emotional experience. And you can even absorb their emotions and their energy and actually be receiving all kinds of information within your own experience about them. It starts to merge into your experience and you start taking that on board. The same goes for environments. Maybe you're pulling up to some kind of concert, or maybe it's a nightclub, or any environment really, maybe it's a city environment. And as you arrive there, you can kind of holistically tap into the overall energy of the place, the quote-unquote vibration of the place. And you can read whether this is quite a high vibration relative to you and what you want to experience or not. And an empath isn't merely just feeling these emotions of other people or vibrations within certain places. That's only part of it. But really the true gift is that an empath is actually then able to clear that energy away. As woo-woo as it all sounds, right? This is what's actually happening at a very subtle plane. The empath is actually clearing and healing and transmuting energy from other people and environments around them. That's actually the gift of them. This is why empaths are often healers and guides for people, because they can hold that space. Now, obviously, this can take a toll on an empath if they're constantly filtering other emotions around them, in the environment around them, along with their own stuff, right? Because we're all healing and growing ourselves simultaneously. So that becomes a problem, and I'll talk about that in future signs. But leading on from this is sign number 2 that you're an empath, which is that you are a spiritually aware, highly intuitive soul. Whether that's truly conscious for you yet or not, it will be. So you may have heard the term light worker, starseed, old soul, and resonated with these terms. And that's because there's usually a crossover between an empath and a spiritually awakening soul. The two become one, and actually the more spiritually aware that you become, the more actually heightened your empathic gifts and abilities become. And that's in a sense what it means to awaken, is that everything in your experience becomes heightened. And that's kind of what an empath is going through, a very heightened experience and perception of life that others are missing. And the more an empath starts realizing that they are going through a spiritual awakening, the more they start realizing that their empathic abilities link over to their divine purpose for being here and their deep desire to help others and to realize their own highest potential within themselves. And so expanding on from this is sign number 3 that you're an empath, which is that you have an extraordinarily deep and rich inner world. You have a profound appreciation for the beauty of life and also the sorrows. And whatever you're going through, whatever you experience, you feel it to such an extreme degree. Literally it can be incapacitating as you become more and more connected to your emotions as an empath, both in a positive sense and a sad sense as you're grappling with all the highs and lows of life. But basically, whether it's a movie, a song, a beautiful landscape in nature, a sunset, or anything, it has the ability to captivate you to the very core and melt you as you become aware of the divine nature of life. It's that deep, your experience. I remember I watched a movie the other month called Before Sunset, and it was such an incredibly well acted and beautiful romantic film that I literally, after I finished it, was walking around my block near the beach. I had to go up this laneway because I was just crying and crying, crying with joy and beauty. It was just profound, but you can't even explain it because you can't even capture it in words. It's literally divine. Having said that, when the lows come into life, the challenges, the moments of grief and sorrow and sadness, you also feel them to a great depth. It's kind of the trade-off, right? You feel positive and negative very extremely, and your inner experience is very rich. And so the next sign that you're an empath is that your journey usually begins in low self-esteem. And that's because you don't really know any of this about you. You don't know that you're experiencing rich, deep emotion. You don't know that you're absorbing the emotion of others. And you don't know that you're spiritually awakening. So instead, you're actually being pummeled at a very young age by people's energies and either mistaking them as your own or thinking that other people and their energies and their inner emotional traumas are actually what they think about you. And so what that does to a very young person is that they start to have a very low self-esteem and self-worth about themselves. And so they're trying to people please others and make them feel good so that the energy in the room can feel good, feel peaceful, feel at an equilibrium and flow. But why this is a problem is because over time, the empath is constantly caring about fixing other people's problems and making sure other people feel good and think well of them. Because they're fundamentally thinking, I'm not enough within myself, and all the energy that I'm receiving is a sign that I'm not enough. And so an empath usually has to learn that what other people are feeling is to do with them and their own healing journeys. And yes, they still help, but they help within certain boundaries. And they start honoring themselves, and they start being able to separate themselves from other people's experiences. And so that's what happens in the later stages of an empath's journey, is that they start to uncover their intrinsic divine worth and finding safety to be themselves, to honor themselves. And they still help others, in fact, more effectively than ever. But they realize it's selfless to honor themselves as much as to help others, and that sometimes another person has to solve their own problems, and that doesn't mean that they're being selfish by focusing on what they need in that moment, even if that means to say, I can't help you, and setting a boundary. And so the next sign that you're an empath is that you often feel emotionally overwhelmed and burnt out. This is even for veteran empaths and awakening souls that have been on this path for many years and know all of this stuff, and have even been practicing boundaries and know how to clear their own energies and heal themselves, and have been doing all this amazing work and seem to actually do pretty well at managing themselves. Even that type of empath still gets emotionally overwhelmed quite a bit. It's just the nature of life being quite challenging and demanding and difficult. And usually we're dealing with people all the time, and we don't perfectly monitor our own needs and stay in that aware, aligned space. And maybe there's astrological events that are happening, like full moons and Mercury retrogrades or whatever else, that can come in and throw us off, or we're going through an emotional challenge, a spiritual challenge, something in our life has happened that's thrown us off. And when we're going through these times, we're often overwhelmed. And I'm still mastering this, and I don't really know exactly how to work around this, especially as you're awakening, because the more advanced you get into awakening, the more you're uncovering very, very deep blocks and emotional traumas, and you're healing these, and you're feeling these, and you're clearing them and inquiring into them. And so it's very demanding, I found, at times. At other times you are more masterfully out of a state of equilibrium. So again, it's this up and down. But don't be surprised if you or feel bad rather, if you do feel emotionally drained quite a bit. That's all part of the experience. And perhaps we do end up really deeply mastering this at some point in our journeys. I'm hopeful for that. But the key is never to beat yourself up for being drained, burnt out, or overwhelmed emotionally in your experience. Just keep doing your best, keep endeavoring to find out how to best manage your own experience. That's all you can do. And the final sign you're an empath is you seek peace. And this is actually a good one to build off from the last point if you're feeling emotionally overwhelmed. Empaths seek peace. What does this mean? I mean both within themselves and their experience, and also environmentally. And this is often found environmentally in places like wide open spaces, in nature, or spending a lot of alone time. And empaths can tend to be introvert. They need that time to replenish themselves, to clear away energies and all the information, emotional overload throughout their day. And in this regard, I personally can say it's very helpful to identify what makes you feel balanced and aligned, and then to do that as much as you feel you need. So anyway, these are the 6 signs that you're an empath. You may resonate with some of them, maybe not so much others. Maybe some will blossom more into your experience in time. And it's not a complete list, having said that. But either way, I hope you enjoyed this video and got something from it. And if you did, please like it, leave me a comment. I love hearing from you, and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to get the free reality shift cheat sheet, which you can get at the link below, which will give you some powerful resources to get on your way with your awakening journey and becoming your greatest self. You can check out my one-on-one coaching if you'd like to work with me. I have applications open at the moment, so that's also at the link in the description. And finally, stay tuned for more videos soon.